To stand up in the face of diversity and fight for what you believe in is something that many people struggle to do. Nelson Mandela did just that. His devotion to humanity, humanitarian causes, and leadership are what he is most well known for. Nelson Mandela perfectly exemplifies the value of equality because of the things he has done to fight for the people of his home country. Today I'm going to recognize him for all of his hard work to gain more equality in his country of South Africa and other countries around the world. I will do this by telling 3 very important anecdotes of his time fighting. Mandela spent 27 years in prison for standing up against a government that was committing egregious abuse against Black South Africans. Throughout his time in prison, Mandela was offered to be released on 3 separate occasions. He denied all of these, and he never gave up on what he believed in. Upon his release in 1990, he still exercised his values of equality by displaying forgiveness and rejecting bitterness that he continuously encountered. He understood that vengeance would hinder his goals. Gary Edmonds, a writer for Food for the Hungry, quoted Mandela saying, "Those who harbor anger are ultimately the ones who end up in bondage." On May 10, 1994, Mandela was inaugurated as South Africa's first democratically elected president. According to the Nelson Mandela Foundation, on this day, May 10, 1994, he said, "It is in your hands to make of our world a better place for all." It was clear on this day that Mandela stood to unite a country whose racial divide were deeply rooted and that he would be fighting for equality. He made efforts to build strong interracial relationships and break down barriers that divided South Africa. He did this through sports. Mandela started this movement by going to the training grounds of the South African rugby team. This team consisted of almost all white men, with the exception of 1 black male. He learned all of the team members' names in order to address them personally. He then challenged the team to go into the most impoverished areas in South Africa and put on coaching clinics for kids. World-class white athletes pouring their hearts into young black children set the stage for what Mandela had in mind for the kind of country he hoped would prosper. The 3rd example that I will talk about is of Nelson Mandela fighting for equality. Involves him being arrested yet again. In 1962, Mandela was arrested and charged with high treason. This came to be known as the Rivonia trial. According to the National Public Radio, in 2013, this news source used a quote of Mandela's, which stated, "I have dedicated my life to the struggle of the African people." The struggle he is talking about is equality. He was arrested in 1962 while fighting for the equality of his people yet again. Nelson Mandela delivered a very famous speech at the end of this trial. He stated that he was prepared to die if that's what it took to make a difference. He cherished the idea of a democratic and, most importantly, free society in which all people could live together in harmony and with equal opportunities. All of these events happened during the famous Rivonia trial and is a great example of him fighting for equality. In conclusion, Nelson Mandela allowed people to see themselves and others as more than just race. He lived in the belief that every person can and should make a positive change in this world. Everyone can do something important, and it doesn't have to be a huge act of heroism. Nelson Mandela once said that real leaders must be ready to sacrifice all for the freedom of their people, as said in Forbes in 2013. I believe that Nelson Mandela achieved his dream of bringing equality to South Africa and hope that one day the entire world will follow suit.